know my name. Diamonds in my teeth, I got a lot of shine. Running up the number, that's a lot of crime. Try to take it from me, must be out your mind. I'm big time, lot of slime. Smoky in the air, that's a lot of pine. Pockets running over with the dollar sign. Try to take it from me. Yeah. Big time, big time, big time.
Welcome to episode 352 of Fourth and Jawn. This is a kind of impromptu draft day live. Just trying to get the draft takes out there. Just trying to let the community get theirs off on draft day. Get their takes out there. So if you guys have a feeling about a certain prospect and you really want to hammer home the point that we need to draft Bijan, or we need to stay pat and draft Nolan Smith, or trade up and go get your boy Jalen Carter, or going to be Mr. Let's protect the quarterback for the years to come and draft a lineman. It's not the sexy pick, but overall, this is what today is about getting takes off their chest. We got a rando right now. Shout out to Louis DiBiase. How you doing today, man?
What's going on?
How you feeling? You ready for draft day?
Dude, I'm always ready for draft day. I watched the movie this morning. I'm just listening to the Eagles pretty much be linked to everybody right now. So I have no idea what's going to happen tonight, man. I'm juiced up. 2 picks, 10 and 30. But I'll guarantee you they do not pick at both those spots. Like, if they have 2 picks, it's not going to be those 2 selections. They might move down out of one of those selections. Howie, at least one thing I can predict, he's going to be on the move for sure.
So, is there a particular prospect? I think you've been Bijan standing on the timeline.
No, so I actually haven't. And, trust me, the fan in me, remove the analyst cap, the fan in me would be juiced up. I mean, all of us are liars if we say that we wouldn't get excited about Robinson being in this offense, right? I mean, watching highlights of that all offseason, thinking about the possibilities of what that unit could look like next year. But no, as an analyst and as what's smart for this football team, removing that excitement, short-term factor, because he would be the most impactful player for next year's run. They got to take, to me, a player that I know at least has a potential possibility to be a 10-plus year player. And to me, they're just never going to sign a running back to 2-3 contracts. So as good as Robinson would be for 5 years, I mean, they just didn't pay Miles Sanders, and he was great last year. So give me a lineman, give me a defensive back, something that, at least with the 10th overall pick, can be a long-term guy. At 30, okay, now I'm a little more open to it.
Are we talking Paris Johnson Jr.?
Yeah, I think he probably is the best option just because he can play right guard right away. He can be your right tackle of the future, potentially. I even think the Eagles could move up for him because I think Chicago would really like him at 9, so maybe you might have to get to 8 with Atlanta. And Atlanta might be a spot for Bijan Robinson. They can say, hey, we'll get Robinson at 10. Philly moves up 2 spots to get Johnson. Skoronski makes me a little nervous. I think he can play right guard just as well right away, but his long-term future at tackle, I'm not sure about. The length with his arms is a little concerning.
This guy, first it was making fun of Kenny's hands. Now we're making fun of Skoronski's arms.
Skoronski's got T-Rex arms, Gil. He's got T-Rex arms. I don't know if I want my right tackle having those kind of arms.
Thanks for jumping on. I know, you're a busy guy. You're running around the city. Last time I saw you,
I got some time. Yeah, for sure. It's you know what's funny about that too is 2 years ago, the Senior Bowl, we were locked in looking at fifth. Who are the Eagles going to take in the 5th round? We were just all in on everybody down there. And this year, me and you were just very just get to the Super Bowl. You know what I mean? This is the draft season's been fun, but man, that Super Bowl definitely did a number on all of us. I think for sure, and it did in Mobile too. We were so distracted.
Yeah, I was distracted, super distracted that week. But shout out to Ev and Mal. Mal's doing daddy duty and draft duty. His first draft ever.
Hell yeah, let's go. Draft, man. It's going to be a fun night. Yes, sir. Let's see who baby's first draft pick's going to be.
Hey, Louis, where are you watching the draft at?
Skoronski or Van Ness.
So we're going to be, actually, Gino and I are going to be live. We do a YouTube hangout, so throughout the first round through Locked On Eagles. So if people ever want to come out and just watch our live reactions, I'll be in the home studio. What's that?
I said, let them know where they can find you.
Yeah, so you can subscribe to the Locked On Eagles YouTube page. I'm also going to stream it on our Twitter account at Locked On Birds. Last year's raw reaction to the A.J. Brown trade was pretty priceless. So that's the thing about the Bijan Robinson pick. It wouldn't be the smartest move, but it would get a incredible reaction. Whereas if they take a tackle, it's going to be, all right, yeah, this is the right call. But that's like the meat and potatoes pick. That's not really fun for content. So in that way, as a podcast host too, Gail, I'm really rooting for some chaos tonight for sure.
That's all about the headlines.
Like, give me the Giants. Like, give me the Giants trading up for a running back, right? I mean, like, go get Jahmyr Gibbs, or they trade up for Bijan, or Dallas does something like that. I need something to juice my veins today, because I don't know if Howie's going to be the one to do that. I think he's going to be smart and safe.
Well, do you think after A.J. Brown excitement last year and Jordan Davis, can Howie top that?
I don't know, man. Last year, it had everything you wanted, right? He trades down with the Saints and collects a future first, so he prioritizes the long term. He trades up for a prospect in Jordan Davis. That's exciting. He trades for a star veteran. I mean, you had everything you wanted last year. But I will say, I mean, he's going to make it fun. Howie Roseman, since being GM again in 2016, when he took back over for Chip, he's only stayed put one time, and it was a disaster. It was in 2020 when he stayed put for Jalen Reagor. So I don't think it's going to be as exciting as last year, but I do think he'll be on the move, at least with one of those two picks. So you're going to see Trader Howie show up tonight, which is always fun.
Nice. Yeah, and I'm just kind of like, I woke up thinking draft. And if you want to ask me what time I woke up thinking about draft, anyone?
I do. I'm curious too as to what time you went to bed as well. I mean,
I went to bed at 3:25, and I woke up at 5:27.
So you didn't sleep. You took a nap.
No, I was.
I think we've all accepted though that this week sleep it'll come after after the draft things slow down. We'll recoup then. This week is all about getting the draft going, man, and so these will come later.
I was talking with Mal on the phone earlier this week, and I kind of like have this feeling, and I'm not sure if you guys feel it as well, but is it me, or does the weeks leading up to the draft almost seem more fun than the actual draft itself? Obviously, the draft itself is exciting, but the hope and the what could happen. Maybe the draft board falls exactly how I want it to fall. I think that the weeks leading up to the draft always kind of feel a little bit more exciting than the actual draft itself.
Well, yeah, we were talking about optimism, right? That like you get the perfect draft, everything looks great. You can see how all these players insert into the offense and defense and back to the Super Bowl, right? And then the picks happen, you're like, what the heck was that? Jalen Reagor was not.
All right, well, we ride.
No, for sure. It's the ultimate what-if season, and I love the speculation and laying out all the scenarios that could happen. What if he trades for this player? What if this guy falls? So, yeah, I think the weeks leading up to the draft are always fun. But there is nothing like a draft pick, and you're like, what? I mean, last year the Patriots take like Cole Strange, and he's getting mocked by the Rams. And I just remember 2019, like Cleveland Farrell going 4th overall to the Raiders. And I'm thinking, this guy's probably going – he's a good first day one prospect, 20 through 32, and then he goes like 4th overall. So there is that like that holy crap kind of feeling though during the draft that is equally as fun.
Is there anyone out there, because there's a comparison that I kind of feel. I feel like this year's if the Eagles were to take Luke Van Ness, I feel like that's Marcus Smith 2.0. What's your thoughts on?
Yeah.
Do you have a guy like that where you just want the Eagles to avoid?
It actually is Lucas Van Ness. So we're on the same page, man. And I don't know, just every year I'm not about the motor pass rusher. And I know the Eagles like those guys, and Brandon Graham in a way was that player. But, last year, a couple years ago, I think it was Kwity Paye from Michigan, Chase Winovich the one year. Basically, any player, pass rusher, that motor obviously is a very important thing. But if I ask you something about a prospect and the first thing you say is he tries really hard, I'm going to be like, well, yeah. I mean, duh. Yeah, they should. You're damn right they should be trying. But what aren't you telling me about his physical talent if that's what you start with? Like, motor obviously is a massive thing, and it definitely helps a player. There are some lazy players that are very talented that didn't work out. But if that's your first thing you lead with, then I'm nervous. Like, AJ Epineza was a guy like that, too, the Bills' second-round pick from a few years ago. So then Ness is kind of like that for me. Yeah, another Iowa guy. They like those scrappy, hard workers, man, in the Big Ten.
Carl Loftus last year, right? He was a try-hard dude.
Carl Loftus is another one.
Yeah, but I was like, I don't know if he's somebody. And now he proved me wrong. And so that sort of has me watching Van Ness a little bit differently because I saw Karlaftis as a try-hard guy. He went to a team that used him relatively well in KC, right? And so for me, it also everything about the draft we never really talk about. And Gail actually mentioned in a conversation a while back is the fit piece, right? That a draft pick can be amazing, but a guy goes to the wrong team and he fizzles in the NFL, right? How many times have we seen you get drafted 2 first league, not very good, get traded, get cut, go somewhere else, and it's the perfect match, right? Like the Patriots mastered that plan, right? They get these cast off guys, get them in their system, and coach them well. And so, the draft is great, but I also love the fit piece, right? Like when you see guys go to teams that you're going to use them well, and then just see them take off in the NFL, I absolutely love it. And that's what I'm hoping happens this weekend, right? For this year, because we absolutely need to nail this draft, man.
Absolutely.
No, and I will say that's one thing this past year did make me, because I'm a traits guy, right? I love the potential. It's why I love Anthony Richardson, right? Just go big or go home. That's the kind of player I want. And yeah, if you strike out, then that's gonna happen. But to me, I am a little more in on the hard-working mentality. Like when you're wired different mentally, to the mental side of it, something that I think I overlook at times. But 2 guys, especially last year, made me change that approach. One is Jalen Hurts. Not to say that he's not super talented, but the guy is an elite worker. He is an elite IQ and just like a Kobe Bryant type of mentality that is very rare nowadays. And then even TJ Edwards last year on defense. This was a guy I thought was going to be a very good 1 and 2 down run stopping linebacker for the rest of his career, but I never thought he could be a 3 down guy that could improve in coverage. And then last year he took huge steps because of his work ethic and because of the smarts in his head, because he didn't get faster, he didn't get bigger, he didn't, you know what I mean? He didn't get more lengthy. So I will say that is one thing that I do have more of an appreciation for this year. But when we're talking 10th overall, though, that is a different story. These guys got to be uber talented. So Van Ness, yeah, I'm a little nervous about that one.
I really don't want to develop
piece, right? Like Nolan Smith for me fits into that category where those guys are hard guys, and then you mentioned the traits. Like he's also an anomaly in everything else that he does. Undersized, but for me, I feel like he's smart enough that he'll figure it out, and he works hard enough that he'll get to a point where his technique just wins. And in the end of the day,
keep building that Georgia defense, man. You got Nakobe Dean and Jordan Davis. That 2021 defense is one of the best of all time in college history. Just keep building. I'm cool with that.
Yeah, man. I just want to thank you for coming on, man, and giving us your takes, dude. Man. I know you're on your way to work. I know you're a busy dude. Yes, let's go Birds.
Oh, hell yeah. You guys are fam. 4th and Jawn, man. Can't wait for tonight. Hopefully they give us some stuff to root for. No matter what, though, guys, we got this. Our roster is set up beautifully next year and long term. We got our quarterback, which makes a lot of this tonight a lot more relaxing, regardless of what they do.
Well, you heard Louis right here. Make sure you go follow him at Locked On Birds, and let's do the damn thing tonight, man.
All right, man. Appreciate it, brother.
Peace.
Yep.
Yeah, man. We're bringing people in and out, man. If you got your takes, we'd love to hear them. It's really about the people today. A dude that I love to hang with, party with, talk ball with, chop it up over some beers, over some brews, in good times. Tom Steaks in the building. Always bringing the juice on the timeline. Always keeping it spicy. Always, fighting off Cowboy fans, and also educating people. So how you doing, man?
Doing good.
Are you wide awake, though?
Here, watching the segment before you just had with Louis, and it's good to hear he's on board with Jalen Hurts because he wasn't always like that. And I know he clashed heads about it a little bit. And, I'm glad to see he's changed his tune a little bit on that because a lot of people, were into the tangible elements of at certain guys, and Jaylon is a guy that changed a lot of minds because of his work ethic and all the things he was saying. He's got that mentality. So just as much as it is about the combine and about who throws the farthest or who hits the hardest or who runs the fastest or whatever, it's about the things that these teams see behind the scenes when they interview these guys, and they they have a lot of insight that we don't get. And when you think about a draft board for a certain team, we're just thinking about what the hot names are and what we've seen on YouTube and what we've heard from experts, but you don't really know what these guys say behind the scenes that really sell these teams on players. And then just recently they released Jalen Hurts his interview behind the scenes, what he told the Eagles, and everyone's like, okay, I see why they liked him now because of that pitch. And you heard some quotes from Jawn Robinson, for example, about what his pitch was to Howie Roseman, and people are like, okay, like I can see, he's not just a running back, he's a guy that's going to make a difference in different phases of the game that you're not even thinking about, and his mentality. So it's always great to see that everybody's paying attention to the talent, but it's also something to keep in mind, the behind the scenes, the mental intangibles that guys have, and that can change everything really. And you don't know who falls in love with who when you really sit down with these prospects. So that's why the draft is so unpredictable, and we're in for some fireworks tonight.
So is there any draft prospect in particular that you favor right now, that you're standing for, that you're standing on the table for at this moment?
Jawn Robinson. I know they're not the type of team that drafts running backs high, but I think a lot of people have come around to it because it's instant impact, and having that 10th overall pick is it's a luxury in itself. No matter who you draft in that spot, you're going to get a guy that is a luxury. A top 10 pick is not it's not going to be a guy that is necessarily a starter at some other positions. And if you do pick a starter, it's a third wide receiver or a running back. So that luxury is just, you swing for the fences, and you really hope that, that puts you over the hump or takes your offense to the next level or whatever the case is. And, I'm not against the pass rusher. I'm not against the defensive lineman, but I'm definitely leaning toward getting that running back to really fill this offense out.
Yeah, and when we talk about, I know that a lot of people, they always, it's the same cliche every year with it's not a sexy pick to take an offensive lineman, but it's the necessary pick. Do you put any credence to the fact that since Jeff Stoutland is here, since he is, in my opinion, the greatest positional coach the Eagles have ever had, do you see any value in being able to say, at the 10th pick, we don't need to really worry about offensive line because we have a coach in Jeff Stoutland. We can get a guy day 2, and Jeff Stoutland can get them up to speed. Do you believe in that kind of philosophy?
Absolutely. I've said this on several streams leading up to the draft. I've said it to my friends, to whoever wants to listen, on Twitter. Howie Roseman talked about on the New Heights podcast with Jason Kelsey about competitive advantage. And he talked about when the Seattle Seahawks built their Legion of Boom, and they took a lot of cornerbacks that people weren't really like that into because of their physical ability. Richard Sherman was a 5th round pick. He's not a guy that was a good change of direction guy. He was tall, long, a little bit slower than what cornerbacks looked like back then. And this was just 8 years ago, whatever.
Right.
And he looked at, these positions, and they were getting them in the late round. So it's kind of like the stock market. You lose your competitive advantage when you start. He mentioned that those coaches from Seattle continued to get head coaching jobs, Gus Bradley, Dan Quinn, and those corners, that mold of corner started going in the 1st round. So if you buy that player in the 1st round and the guy becomes elite, you're breaking even. But if you buy that player in the 5th round and he becomes elite, you're cashing in.
Yeah.
So that's what the competitive advantage the Eagles have, is that they can pick guys on day 2 and day 3 of the draft on the offensive line. And Jeff Stoutland turns those guys into these top tier prospects.
Yeah.
And to be honest, you don't need to draft the 10th overall prospect to sit on the bench and learn. Those guys are ready to come in and play right away. So that's a luxury to have a 10th overall prospect be a backup. So if you're drafting a second day guy or a third day guy and you sit him for a year or 2 years, they could really use that experience on the bench, learn from the great pieces in front of them, such as Lane Johnson, Jason Kelsey, now even Jordan Mailata and Landon Dickerson. They have that experience. And when they're watching those guys work every day, it starts to come along for them a little bit more. And then obviously having Jeff Stoutland, and you're now developing these offensive linemen from day 2 and day 3 into top tier prospects. And when they're ready to play, they're ready to play. So,
right.
I totally agree with that. I don't think you draft. Look, if we needed a starter, if Lane Johnson shocked us all.
If he had retired, if
there's a hole there, then maybe you get the top tier guy. But to develop a guy that we don't need right away.
That's going to go between 2 Hall of Famers, by the way.
Right.
Yeah.
That's another thing is that everyone's talking about Cam Jurgens and he hasn't played guard, but going from center to guard is a lot easier than going from guard to center.
Yeah.
I mean, there's less responsibility, and you're playing in between Jason Kelsey and Lane Johnson. So to me, to fill that right guard spot, you lost Sayamalu, who he was probably your worst lineman. Now he was solid in there, but you don't have to go replace that with a top 10 pick to get back to being the best O-line in football. You can stick, you can have a competition. I'd love a competition. You draft a guy late. You have Cam Jurgens as the front runner, and then you have Jack Driscoll in there as well, competing for, reps, competing for that backup spot. And that's how you run your camp competition. And Cam Jurgens should play. He was a second round pick. They've cross-trained him. They had to know when they picked him that Kelsey, there was a chance. Kelsey,
there's a possibility, right?
So they had to have had that in their back pocket. And
do you think there's any bitterness in Cam Jurgens, like in his private life, where he's sitting there like, I just wish this motherfucker would retire?
That's a good question. I don't know. I mean, if they have that plan with him that they're like, look, you're going to get a shot to play right guard, then probably not. But we did the same thing with Landon, and he was supposed to be Kelsey's replacement. There was a potential behind him being Kelsey's replacement. He stayed at left guard, and that's another thing I don't like about this. Pick a guard that can eventually take Lane's place at tackle. What happens if he becomes an elite right guard? Then you're like, I don't want to move him. And then if Lane gets hurt, you don't want to shift that guy around and plug new pieces in. So it shuffles everything. You just have to stay, continuity is the biggest thing on an offensive line, more so than anything. So, shuffling it around and messing with it. And if this guy gets hurt and that guy and that, like, you don't make a 10th overall pick like that. That's more for, later in the draft, even UDFA pickups Howie talked about that too in that interview or in some interview, maybe it was that one, maybe it wasn't. But something about the draft where he said he really trusts his scouts with UDFA pickups, and that provides depth. And a lot of those guys actually do end up making the team. You think about Josh Jobe and Reed Blankenship from last year, who made the 53, and they were on the roster during the playoffs. And so you have a lot of chances to fill in depth and those long shot guys that probably don't need to play right away. And I don't think 10th overall is where you pick a guy like that. Now, would I be slamming my fist against anything if we picked a top 10 prospect and started him at guard? I wouldn't be pissed off or anything. I'd be a little bit underwhelmed, but I'd know that he's going to be a good player. But I do want an instant impact guy, a guy that you can get a little irresponsible with this pick. That's my
And I know I'm a little bit biased in being an Eagles fan, but and I completely agree with what you said. And I'm just sitting there imagining if we took an offensive lineman tonight at 10, and I just know my instant reaction is going to be, well, I guess Jeff Stoutland was really pulling for a guy. You know what I mean? Like if he really had a guy he wanted, then he convinced him. Like,
because we know Stoutland was there at the combine, he was eyeing up all the linemen. He's got his notes. He knows, like after finding Mailata, holding his hand through the whole IMG process where he was at IMG Academy down in Florida. He knows what a good lineman looks like, or a potential great lineman, or how he was mentioning that, Stoutland was like, look, he was talking about Stoutland was telling him, hey, you got a second to look at these prospects real quick? I can fix this.
Mm-hmm.
I can fix this. Well, the people that need fixing is mid-round prospects, maybe a second rounder, but I feel like they have a guy in mind.
Right. And I think that you look at some of the guys that aren't necessarily physically
touted, if you will, under an undersized guard or a tackle that might have a little bit short arms or something. And Stoughton's like, look, I can fix the technique up, and that physical element of his game that isn't there is okay with me because he's got other things that I can work with and bring out. And that's what they talked about with Jason Kelce, is he was an undersized center. No one wanted offensive linemen that played in space. They wanted the big, bulky guys that could run block and maul on the inside. And now it's all about that playing in space, athletic move. So you never really know what the next cutting edge kind of framework for what any of these players is going to look like. So really trusting your position coaches and all that.
Staying ahead of the curve.
Yeah. So I think that and then having 2 first-round picks also. I mean, if we had just 1 pick, then I'm like a little bit more maybe we should do this, that, but 30th pick is a pretty valuable pick as well. So you can always grab a guy if you really want a guy there. You grab a guy there.
I know you're Bijan Stanish, but how are you on Jahmyr Gibbs?
I like him too a lot. And you know what? If we pick an edge rusher or a D tackle or anything at 10, then I think immediately, well, Bijan's probably going to be gone, and I'm automatically on to Gibbs. Like, I just want a running back. I don't know if you guys remember in 2017, I wanted Dalvin Cook so bad.
Yeah, same.
And looking back, that would have been a better pick than both the top picks that we made, if we're being honest. Derek Barnett, Sidney Jones, and there was rumors that they wanted Christian McCaffrey, and he went a couple picks earlier than we had. So I think if there's an opportunity, they're going to jump on it, but we'll see how badly they want it. And what I said on Twitter today is the only thing that would really make me upset is if Bijan goes 8th to the Falcons or something, and then all these reports after the draft come out, oh, Eagles were going to pick him. They loved him. He was going to be the guy. I will be sick to my stomach if that happens. But if they pass on him, then I'm like, okay, they didn't really want him that bad. But,
do you value Bijan enough to trade up above Atlanta?
Me personally, I want him so bad.
Come on now.
I might, but
what about? I mean, we haven't really even mentioned Carter. Like, I mean, how important? I think we have to really be serious with ourselves. Brandon Graham's gone. Mm-hmm. Fletcher Cox is gone next year. Those are 2 integral pieces to this front, right? So The only way you get better is drafting process. We brought in Jordan Davis.
Mm-hmm. Hargrave left, so
Hargrave's out.
Yep.
You start that Georgia Bulldog reunion special.
Mm-hmm.
Starting tonight. I mean, would you guys? How far would you move up for Jalen Carter?
If he gets past the Seahawks at 5, then you got to start calling Detroit if they don't want him. I think that's the most responsible pick. I think that's an immediate impact guy. That's Bijan Robinson is a desire versus Jalen Carter is like the guy that's like, okay, if we get him, that's really the best pick you can make. It trenches. I mean, and even Nolan Smith, the other Georgia Bulldog, the edge rusher, that's they're 1A and 1B in terms of smart. They'll get in there immediately and make an impact and for the future. So Bijan is the selfish desire, but those guys are more so the picks that I think they will make, and I'll be happy with either one, but especially Carter. I mean, I've wanted Carter. I've been talking about him. I don't really watch tons of college football. I just pay attention for the prospects, and I caught wind of him during the season, and with that Saints pick, I'm watching them lose games, and I'm seeing this guy pick the running back or the quarterback up on his shoulder the one game, and I'm like, yeah, we need that guy. So, knowing Javon Hargrave was a big piece of the team. He had 11 sacks, left the team for a big time contract. We didn't end up getting that Jeff Simmons guy because he was way too much money, and the Titans just ended up paying him. You need to replace that with a young, strong defensive lineman, and I think Carter fits that mold for sure.
And when I just sit here and think about, because obviously we're sitting here kind of frothing at the mouth thinking about what Bijan can do to this offense, but I think that Jalen Carter is a very similar type of player on the defensive side of the ball. When you just look at how another Georgia boy that's joining what would be 3 starting Georgia defensive players in this next year's defense. But when you just look at since Jordan Davis just demands that double team because of his size and strength, and then you put a guy like Jalen Carter next to him, who's probably going to demand the same sort of respect. I mean, that's just mismatch central. And you look at a team that almost broke the NFL record in sacks last year. If you pair those two guys together, man, we can make another run at it.
Yeah, it's right back to what we had last year with Jawn and Jalen Carter just coming in. It's like a younger version of him. And then on top of that, you're not putting him in there like, man, if we don't get 15 sacks from this guy, we're screwed. Like, we have so many pieces around, and we have Reddick, Sweat. Obviously, you have your veterans. You even have a guy in Milton Williams who's going to be counted on to play a huge role this year in his third season, getting his snaps increased every year. Kentavious Street was signed to be another guy in that rotation. So they didn't waste any time. They didn't wait until mid-season where injuries start happening to have to sign Ndamukong Suh and Linval Joseph, which were great pickups mid-season, but they started that early this year because they knew, look, we need rest for Fletcher Cox. We need rest for Brandon Graham. We need these guys to all play in a rotation, and that's what they're going to continue to build. So whether or not they pick Jalen Carter, I still see them taking a D tackle in this draft, but Jalen Carter is the prize possession at D tackle, and especially like you said, teaming him up with the Georgia Bulldog starters and captains over there on our defense, man, that'd be something special.
And I thought it was pretty interesting. I saw a interview with Jalen Carter, and he was talking about the possibility of joining up with the Eagles. And for the first thing he said was talking about, he's like, oh, being able to play with Nakobe again. And I just kind of that caught me by surprise, because you think about how like last year played out. Obviously, we had veterans filling in at linebacker, and Nakobe didn't play much, but Nakobe seems to have this aura around him in both like a leadership role, and I'm excited to see what Nakobe's going to bring to the table this year as well.
No, Nakobe's gonna be a beast. I think he's gonna be unleashed. But I want to get Mal. What's your take on what are you giving to move up for Carter?
I was just looking on the timeline right now. Brendan D retweeted something from Pauline that said the Eagles were trying to move up into the top 5. So folks were talking like 10 and 30 to get up to the third pick.
Fuck that, bro.
Most of it was for Anderson Jr. For Jalen Carter.
But like, I actually did the math on that.
That's a lot. And I think the math is probably off too. In the end of the day, I mean, to be quite frank, I think this is an opportunity to move backwards, not forward, right? I don't know that Jalen Carter, you mentioned already, makes it past Seattle. And I don't see how Detroit says no to Jalen Carter. Him in their front would just be phenomenal. So I think it's going to be hard to convince a team to not take arguably the best player in the draft, right? So it will have to be a team that's thinking quarterback, that maybe thinks they can move back and get Levis or Richardson, something along those lines. The Texans might be the only spot, right, where that makes sense, and that's 2, and that's going to be ridiculous to move up to. So again, for me, I'm thinking more move back, stockpile of picks, especially in third to fourth round. There's so many talented dudes that could come in here. Y'all talked about Stoutland and coaching prospects up. Like, that area is going to be ripe with potential like talent that moves well, are grinders, but maybe haven't shown it all in college just yet. So that's where we've been talking about it. You trust your scouts, you trust your coaches. You get the right guys in here. I don't know how, again, you convince somebody to say no to Jalen Carter. So maybe Tyree, and I don't think you move up for Tyree. So yeah, I don't know. I'm just excited to see what happens, man. Like, I'm geeked up, bro. You know, this is such a question mark draft that, like, I'm just excited to see what happens.
I got my calculator out. I got the draft trade chart out. Now, the Eagles' 10th pick is worth 1,300 points, right? The 30th pick is worth 620 points. Quick math, that is 19. That's 1,920 or 1,920. That would bring us. Arizona is actually at 2,200. That's how much the third pick is worth. The fourth pick is worth 1,800 points.
Okay.
Seattle is worth 1,700 points. Detroit is worth 1,600. So I mean, the 62nd pick overall is worth 284 points. Is our next pick that you could possibly throw in the mix.
Listen, I think that Howie is a guy that obviously does a lot of trades. makes a lot of motion on throughout the draft. But if we're talking about, like, first of all, we're going into this draft right now with 2 firsts, a second, a third, and 2 sevenths. And then if we were to trade away 2 of those firsts for, you know what I mean? Like, we are limiting ourselves on these draft picks if we were to do something like that. And I'm sitting here from the belief of, I think that Jalen Carter still, after all of the talk that's come out about him, I still think that he is the second non-quarterback off the board. And so you are going to have to, pay a shit ton, like how you just described with that graph. I don't think it's worth it personally to move up that far when we have the draft assets that we have.
Can I be honest, though? My ideal hope right now is that Will Levis or Anthony Richardson slides to 10, and one of these quarterback expert teams try to jump up for them and give up more than you probably would for the 10th pick, right? Because I feel like that would be the ideal situation. You know, to Hollywood's point, Howie wants more picks, right? Like his philosophy is the more the merrier because you just have more opportunities to hit. So to your logic, why would you then significantly limit your opportunities to hit? And say you do move up and take Jalen Carter, he blows his knee out, God forbid. But like now you just crapped out at the whole draft, basically, right? And so I think it's tough to really go into it with that sort of logic. Like I said, just for all the chatter around the quarterbacks, I'm hoping one of them slides to 10. One of these teams are like, yo, I gotta go and get him. I was like, yo, turn your pockets inside out, baby. Like,
we got a quick question here. Drew Johnson says, I mean, just thinking about O-line, not the sex pick, says Ev earlier on the show. He says, how long do you think Lane is going to play? Because this really factors into a type of move. Like you'd have to believe that Lane and Howie have had this conversation of like when is your at? What because Lane is it's the annual holiday when we restructure Lane's contract. So I think they're very close. Just like Kelsey's close with Howie. So when do you think?
I think you just mentioned it. I get this feeling that him and Kelsey ride off into the sunset together. I mean, they've played their whole careers together. They've accomplished a lot together.
Would that be this year?
Loss for us.
Would that be this year?
I mean, I wish they would have told us if it was going to be this year prior to to today. But I think we're definitely good for this year.
Well, this is where I'm trying to sway you, like into the idea of like, if this is something, then the Parrish Johnson Jr. could be a thing.
I mean, you got to think about it, right? Like the ankle, right? Lane has been dealing with that same injury for how many years?
That's another annual holiday. Draining Lane's ankle day.
The cyst day? The cyst?
At some point, you just got to be honest. These dudes are getting older. These are 2 Hall of Famers. There really isn't much else that they have to do to prove themselves. And so at this point, it's just the love of the game. And you know how like that's a quick fall off, bro. One day you sitting there looking at your family and like, yeah, I'm done, bro. And so I think that like both of them are probably close to that cusp. They've created opportunities for themselves outside of football. Like they've already created that landing spot. So I'm with Gail. Draft for the future, like identify some people this year, especially on that offensive line. There's so many prospects going into even day 3 that could come in here, get coached up by Stoutland and produce. But stock up, bro.
I think that I was gonna say I think Lane plays for another 1 or 2 years. And Kelsey maybe just 1 year, who knows? But it's a good point that they're gonna ride off together, and but still to me it's like drafting a guy 10th overall is pretty rich. It's still rich where they did it with Cam Jurgens last year, and you already see the signs on the wall a little bit with that. They're writing on the wall, and so I think they're going to they're gonna look to get guys, but I don't know if it's going to be that early. I'm just not of that belief. But if so, then maybe look out for Lane to retire after this season, because that's going to be something.
Do you think it's a possibility? I mean, obviously anything's a possibility with Howie, but if we're sitting there at 10, how far back would you slide if another team is offering a first next year, and you can kind of think about going into next year's draft with 2 firsts? And if we're losing Lane and Kelsey next offseason, that's where that valuable offensive line pick could come in.
Right. And you know what else I think? A good point about, what you guys were saying about quarterbacks dropping to 10. also I'm thinking about this. Seattle and Detroit are two pretty good teams. Seattle was a playoff team, and Detroit was on the cusp, and their division just got weaker with the departure of Rodgers, and the Vikings are, who knows about them every year. They have 2 first-round picks. Their first picks are 5 and 6. They also have 2 quarterbacks that are older, that are veteran stopgap guys that, yes, they have contracts for them, but what if they don't ever pick there again, So as much as I could see quarterbacks dropping to 10, I could see a wow, what the heck is that, where Anthony Richardson ends up as Pete Carroll's future. Or imagine that. I mean, to me, I love Anthony Richardson, what you guys were saying earlier. And I'll tell you what, for him, I'd love it because that's a great organization. He's going to get coached up well. He's going to have a great opportunity. He's got DK Metcalf. They've got a defense brewing again. But as an Eagles fan, I'm like, man, that would be a team in the future with him at quarterback, and yeah, they would have something.
Kenny Walker, KW3.
Yeah, exactly. They got talent on that team, and I'm just thinking like they have other picks later in the, like just like us, they have 2 draft picks as well in the first round. So why not take the swing on the quarterback now while you can? Then you still add another talented player later. So as much as I think it would high value if quarterbacks drop to us, it could also drop some talent to us if those teams think like, well, what if we just grab this quarterback who's like, got this elite physical traits, ability to come in a year or 2 and be our future, because we're not going to get this opportunity again. We plan on being a playoff team.
Right.
We don't have this opportunity again. So that's why I think this draft is so unique and going to be so unpredictable potentially, because of the teams that are good and have 2 draft picks in the first round because of all that craziness with the quarterback trading with Russell Wilson and Matt Stafford in the last 2 years, giving those teams that ammo to have those 2 picks. So there's a lot of different things that can happen. And, with the Eagles, when their pick comes up, it could either be there's talent on the board because quarterbacks got taken, or like you guys said, those quarterbacks slide and then someone's willing to give us the haul. I'm thinking about Tampa Bay at 19. I mean, that's a big slide back for us. But you think about a team that has just grasping at straws with Baker Mayfield. They would definitely come up and grab. Imagine Anthony Richardson falls to 10, and they come up and they give us, next year's first, like you said. And then at 19, there's still potentially going to be some good talent there. I mean, I don't know. Maybe Bijan slides back down to 9. Who knows? Maybe Jahmyr Gibbs. Maybe we reach a little bit. Maybe JSN from Ohio State. So there's a lot.
Think about a team like the Texans, right, who picked 12th. They still have additional picks next year as well because of the Deshaun Watson trade.
Right.
And so, they've already been saying, I'm not taking a quarterback at 2.
Right.
So they're out. But at 12, right, they can move up to 10. They have additional picks to give us, and that could be a great spot. You move back 2, and say you move back 2 and you land somebody like Nolan Smith or Bijan falls for whatever reason. Because really in this draft, all we need is all 4 quarterbacks to go. One of these or 2 of these offensive linemen to go early, and Devon Witherspoon or Gonzo to go before we think they will. And we're sitting with Anderson, Tyree, Nolan, right, Bijan, like all of these guys that could potentially slide. So I see an outcome where the Eagles are in pole position to do whatever they want at 10. And that excites the hell out of me, man, because when they lost to the fucking Saints, I was like, this just ruined everything, bro. Like this was so easy. And so, at 10, I thought we'd be boxed out of some of these really talented players, but we keep saying unpredictability. We know nothing really, right? We don't really know anything. So I think that we have a chance to really make this a fun night, man, for sure.
Yeah, I agree.
I feel like I've come to terms with a reality selection. I have my Carter is my be all to end all, right? But I feel like as much as I love the Bijan hype and the Bijan, I would love to root for a dude like that. I'd love to have him, even if it's for 5 years. I feel like we're in a phase where it's like, fuck it. Like if you're going to make a move in this Super Bowl window with a team that is very high powered already, adding some juice like that into the mix, I'm a dude that waits to the day 2, maybe day 3 to get a running back, but I can make a case for Bijan, just like I did make a case for Dalvin Cook in previous years.
He's probably the most natural runner, right? Like the case for Bijan is not super difficult. He's the most natural running back in the draft. And so if you're saying, yo, we want a horse for 5 years, boom, there you go, right? He doesn't have the question marks around size like Jameer Gibbs, and A-Chain or speed like Charbonnet or some of these other guys. Like he's the most complete running back prospect. How much do you value that? And to your point, 5 years, right? That like having him for 5 years will supercharge this offense. I just think Gibbs could supercharge it too, right? So I'm not all the way in on Bijan the way some other folks are.
It's a wild draft because in terms of like the blue chippers, like a lot of the analysts will say there's like maybe 20 first round grades they have, or like 15 first round grades on players. So when you start thinking about moving back and gaining value, I know there's a wide array of different ways they can go. A lot of D tackles in the second round, the Mozzie Smiths, the Dexter from Florida, Benton from
Elijah.
Yeah. I mean, there's multiple options you can go on the trenches.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that as well. I mean, back to the Bijan thing, and the length of time he would be good for us. I mean, I think we're moving away and seeing such a change in the NFL where like you don't have 10 years anymore. People are like, pick a guy that's going to play for you for 10 years. Who knows what the team's going to look like even in 2 years. So getting a guy right now where we can strike while the iron's hot, where this conference is not in the best shape that we've seen. We have the best quarterback in the conference, in my opinion, if not the top 3, right? We have one of the best rosters, if not the best roster. So it's like adding a guy that is like, okay, well, in 2 years, he's going to step in and be Lane's replacement, or he's going to be in a rotation. That's just as much a luxury to me as a Bijan Robinson. And you think about all these teams, like you don't see teams stay at the top for long. So when you're at the top, you might as well maximize that. And you've got to maximize that by helping your quarterback and obviously protecting your quarterback as well. So offensive line is something to think about. But with Bijan, like Mal was saying, like he's the most complete runner in this draft. And if you do lose a running back, or an offensive lineman, to an injury, or if Lane retires or whatever the case is, and you have to develop guys, I think Bijan's the type of back and Jalen is the type of quarterback that can disguise some of those deficiencies on your offensive line because of how they can play. Jalen's escapability and his legs and his wisdom in terms of checking out, getting the ball out of his hands quick. And then Bijan's the thing that jumps out to me about Bijan is his vision. He makes guys miss in the backfield when it should have been a loss and it's a gain. So he reminds me of, like a guy like McCoy or Barkley in that way, where he has those jump cuts that really keep a defense off balance, even if the blocking scheme kind of breaks down. So I think there's a lot of ways you could attack this and set your team up for the next 2 to 3. I'm not thinking about 10 years down the line. I'm thinking 2 to 3 years, and he's the best guy to maximize that.
So YOLO, straight YOLO, draft YOLO.
Yes.
I mean, but I also feel like that's a case for JSN too, right? That like he's another person, in my opinion, that comes into this offense and like supercharges this offense and takes a huge question mark away, and then adds an element to this offense that we lack, right? Is another reliable playmaker. If somebody goes down, and thankfully we got 20 games out of AJ Brown, but like that hasn't happened before. And so, we also have to, I always keep saying that like these positions of like multiplicity, where we have multiple starters, you got to keep backpiling, you got to keep piling, you got to keep dudes in the rotation, because the NFL is about injuries. Unfortunately, these are grown men running into each other 60 times a game for several months out the year. They happen. And so, I love the fact that how we did that with Nakobe, with Cam Jurgens, even to a certain extent with Jordan Davis, who unfortunately couldn't play his first year, but is about to be a huge part of this rotation in year 2. So again, I'm just looking to see who does how we think can immediately give this team something that it lacks, but also be as somebody over the long term. Because Tom, to your point, 10 years is a long time from now, right? Like we don't know what the hell is going to happen in 10 years, but also you have to be responsible and planning for that time too. So you have to kind of balance those two things. Who could give me something right now, but who's also somebody that, like, if we give them a second contract, could keep us in the mix, keep us in the race. And at 10, I don't think there's a lot of people. That's why I'm team trade back, bro. Even I love Nolan, but I don't know that sitting pat at 10 when you lack the resources that the Eagles do in this draft makes a ton of sense.
Now we do have to realize that the Eagles do have some picks next year in the draft. Yep. So I think when we do have 2 twos,
5 in the first 100, 5 picks in the first 100.
So let me be clear. We still have some ammo from next year to throw in, but
looking at next year's draft class, it's supposed to be stronger, right? They're like, you're looking at some.
Say that every year. I feel like.
Yeah. But they also predicted that this class wasn't going to be as top heavy potentially, whereas next year has some dudes that are just dogs. So maybe you want to keep that ammunition for next year and see, like, okay, we do have to backfill lane spot. We do have to now find something else. And it just gives you an opportunity to load up on blue chip talent that might just not be available in this year's pick.
Now the picks that we have, first round, 2 second rounds. We get the one from the Saints. We have our own third round pick. We'll have a comp pick, a third round. So 2 twos, 2 threes. We have a 4th round pick, and then get this one. We have a 5th round pick from the Vikings, our own 5th round, and we're projected to get 3 more 5th rounds. So that's 5 5th round picks. I feel like I'm the Count Dracula. 6th round pick from the Eagles or Titans, whichever is better. So that's a lot of wheeling and dealing. I think Howie is doing something with those 5th round picks.
Mm-hmm. Howie's going to get 4 running backs next year in the 5th round. But as it stands right now, so we were talking about. I know that we keep on circling back to the running back position, but if we don't get Bijan, we don't get Gibbs, we don't get Derrick Henry, we still have to address the running back position in some way, shape, or form, right? We're not going into it with this rotation.
You still got Kendre Miller, Charbonnet, right? You still have Tajay Spears. Like, there are probably another 5 or 6 dudes you could just rattle off that you could maybe have second, third, going into the 4th round with
Roshan
Anaconda, Roshan Johnson, right? Like, this joint is, and I think that's also the argument against Bijan at 10. And not to disrespect him as a player, I think he is a very good one. But we just named how many other dudes that you could have much later that come into this offense and also add something as well. So, at a much cheaper price point too, which, I think matters when you sign somebody to $255 million contract. Like, you got to keep this stuff as cheap as possible.
Yeah. I was saying that with that, I'll add a little counterpoint to it. I watched Miles Sanders in the Super Bowl piss himself. And I don't want that. I don't want to go into a big game and we're counting on a 4th round pick. That's a solid prospect, but is he a top tier blue chip, potentially elite player at that position? Right. I trust Bijan. He's him. You know what I mean? But I trust Derrick Henry. He's been in the playoffs. I trust veteran guys. You know what I mean? I don't know if I would trust, say, Rashad Penny goes down. He got Gainwell and a 3rd or 4th round pick in there as a prospect running back in a big playoff game. I'm not sure if I can try. I mean, even Miles had the jitters. So it's like
Pop Pacheco, right? Like Pop Pacheco from Rutgers. It's the mentality. You named it. Miles Sanders ain't a dog, bro.
Yeah,
that nickname time what I say? He said he pissed himself.
I like.
We watched him fumble twice.
I like the spice.
He's not a dog. So if you go get a Kendre Miller who has that, he drags his nuts, right? They're like, that's what I'm saying. If you're gonna get a guy, get that guy. I think Kenny G is a dog, but to your point, you got to be very understanding of like what is his mentality, because you're asking a lot of a young dude to step in. But like, I got a chance to watch Papa Pacheco at Rutgers. I wasn't the least bit surprised he made it to the league and was killing people, because he did it in the Big Ten on one of the worst football programs in the country. You got to get a dog, though. If you're not a dog, you can't put him in the game anytime, right? He's going to always be scared.
Yeah.
Jalen Reagor, he gonna always be show.
So he's outside the club. Outside the club.
Who was that?
Miles Sanders.
He's still hung up on the Miles Sanders comment.
He's stuck.
No, I'm outside of the club, and you think I'm a punk.
Yeah. I mean, I agree though. Like that's what I'm saying. Like if you are gonna trust a mid-round day 3 kind of running back, it better be like a guy like that can handle that, because this is a team that's ready to compete right now. I don't want to lose because we had inexperience at an important position that kind of holds us back. And so I'm, again, like I said, I watch college. I dabble in college football, and more so because I want to watch for prospects, but I don't go 4 rounds, 5, 6 rounds deep. So I don't know the guys that you could trust back in that back of the draft. So I guess that's kind of more on me for just knowing Bijan Robinson and Jahmyr Gibbs, the guys from the big schools that are going to go on the top of the draft. But there's obviously guys like you mentioned, Pacheco from the Chiefs. You know, guy killed us in the Super Bowl because he had that mindset. He ran hard. I liked him all year. Honestly, I never heard of him until I watched him on the Chiefs. So if they can get a guy like that, absolutely. Well, yeah, that's kind of what it comes down to.
Now Vic brings up Zach Evans, Ole Miss, Kendrick Miller. They used to be teammates at TCU.
That's a dog.
So Miller came in, took his spot, and Zach Evans went to Ole Miss. Very interesting. Abanikanda from Pitt.
Is he from Pitt?
Yeah.
Yep.
But Abanikanda not really a dog. He reminds me of Miles Sanders. He's one of those dudes. He gets his block. He could take off, but when you hit him, he's going down.
And Miles Sanders went to Pitt too, so maybe that's just how they're built out there.
Oh, actually, Penn State.
Oh, you're right. I'm sorry. Why did I say that? Yeah. He's from Pittsburgh, but he didn't go to Pitt.
Yeah. A-Chain from Texas A&M. He's a speedster. A lot of people like him. You know, he's pretty compact. Not the biggest dude, but definitely a speed demon. I just think this is, you know, I can go to Tyjae Spears from Tulane.
Yes, sir.
That's why I feel like.
What about Sean Tucker? I heard a lot about Sean Tucker
from Syracuse.
He was not twitchy, really. Like he could get downhill. You know, I would say he's a one step and go kind of guy.
I call him Old Navy.
Yeah, it's not nothing fancy. It's not
flashy.
Yeah, he gets what's earned, and like he could pass block. I think that's important. I don't know. You want to keep
another big.
You have KG, you know, Kenny G on the field in those situations.
So, you know, Brown out of Illinois as well.
Yeah, Brown. Yep. It's so many, dog. It's so many.
That's why all the running backs right now are having a hard time getting those checks right now, because there's like 5 rounds full of backs that you can have that could come in. And Pacheco, I think, not that everyone is talking about Pacheco because he was a 7th rounder.
Right.
Was he a 7th rounder?
Yeah, he was a 7th
rounder. And he was in the Super Bowl killing it. So, like, this adds, like, this whole spectrum of, like, why you don't do certain things, or, like, how you can, you know, get guys later or build a running back by committee. Because you talk about, what's his name? Clyde Edwards-Helaire. They drafted him in the 1st round, back at the 1st.
And he got sat. Basically just got benched for other guys to get carries. So
my man was in street clothes.
always risky. You know, when you're thinking about a position that seems to be the most replaceable one, it's similar to like the linebacker position on the other side of the ball, where you see less and less those top linebackers taken. You know, it's rare to see a straight middle linebacker in the 1st round. It's just not that kind of league anymore. It's not built to stop the run. It's not built to you know, it's built for space, built for, you know, fast feet going up and down. So those hard hitting guys, they get injured quicker. A lot of contact. Those guys are not going to be premium players. So yeah, I totally, you know, any other year I'm like offensive line, defensive line, like pick that. Smart teams draft trenches early. You could probably search my Twitter for what I was saying last year in the draft. I probably said smart teams draft trenches early 1 billion times during the draft last year. Gave a lot of credit to the Giants for doing that. With Kayvon Thibodeau and Evan Neal. But that, you know, that for me, it's like I do selfishly want to be a little irresponsible with this 10th pick.
This guy, he's going to the mall. He's going to the mall with a pocket full of money. You know,
on that though. Like this it's an opportunity to swing for the rafters, right? To like just go for the home run. And the more we've talked about Bijan, and I know I've argued against it, I'm all over the place. I'm with it though, right? That like I'm open to a player that takes this team back to the Super Bowl. Like that's what I'm in this for. I want to see this team back, get that trophy that they deserved last year, right? The like, you know, everything, the writing was on the wall for that to happen. And I think this year people will underestimate the Eagles and we'll be able to sneak in like we did in 2017. It won't be all the allure and all the luster around us. But man, just make the right pick. That's all I'm asking. I got to run. It's been a pleasure, Tom. Good to see you, my man. Y'all have a good one, Brody. Gail, I'll see you later, brother.
All right, man. Talk about sneaking in. Johnny from the car, from All About the Birds in here. You know, can there you go. How you feeling, man?
I'm feeling pretty good. Hey, it's draft day. You know, it's always fun.
Hey, we're waiting for some spicy takes. I know Tom is our resident Bijan stan right now. Where are you at right now?
So I'm with Tom on it. With at first I was hesitant. I was like, you know what, you can't really invest yourself in a running back. But then the more you think about it, what this team has, how this team's already built, you got to invest in the running back because it's a premium position, and it's a lot easier to say invest if he is there at 10 because you still have the 30th pick. It isn't like you just have one pick. You have the 30th pick in the draft. You have a bunch of picks next year. You can always maneuver, do different things. This team and the type of player that Bijan is, listen, if he's gone, my spicy take will be I trade out, and I would honestly trade out and then maybe try and get – I want a corner. I know a lot of people talking offense, defensive lines. I like Joey Porter Jr. So
later? Or
are you a Penn State fan by any chance?
I am a Penn State fan.
Okay, there's why.
So the funniest thing, when he came to Penn State, quick little story. When he came to Penn State, I went up for one of the first games of the year, and you know how I don't know if you guys ever been to Penn State when you go into the bathrooms, and it's literally like you're peeing in a bathtub next to everybody. Okay. So
they got the troughs going on.
Yes. Yeah. So I come out of the bathroom, and who's there? Right there is Joey Porter Sr. Right in front of you. I never realized how big.
Are you about to give us an update on his?
No. I won't. I won't give you that. All I'm saying is, coming out, you saw him, and all I did was I shook his hand and I said, hopefully good luck to your son, everything at Penn State. And he said to me, he's going to be a real one. Okay, all right. So I like the way he plays. He's very handsy. I know that's one take on him. A lot of people like to put. But if you can't get Bijan and Carter's gone already, and I don't want Skoronski. I know everyone wants to talk about him. Honestly, if I'm looking at the offensive tackle, Skoronski to me is like 4th or 5th best in my opinion. I would trade back and get the corner. You get a guy because Slay and Bradbury aren't going to be there more than 2-3 years at the most. You need people. Yeah. They need to do what they did in 2002.
So as a counterpoint to that, Slay and Bradbury have guaranteed money in the next 2 years. So you're planning on drafting this cornerback, and he's going to spend almost half of his funny comment. He's going to spend almost half his rookie contract on the bench. So, I don't think that cornerback in the first round is the way to go because you're not going to get that guy on the field unless there's an injury for 2 years of his rookie contract. So I'm not too keen on it. I like Joey Porter. Don't get me wrong. I think
hey, you wanted spicy takes. I gave you some spicy takes.
He's a talented guy. I like Joey Porter a lot. Love the prospect. I like a lot of the corners in this draft. But once we signed Bradbury and Slay to those 2-year guaranteed money deals, it's like picking a guy in the first round. You're going to waste half of his rookie contract, and that's kind of counterproductive in my opinion, but you never know. I mean, like you said, they did the same kind of thing in the early 2000s when they picked Lito Shepherd and Sheldon Brown up, and they sat him.
Yeah,
and they had those were Pro Bowl corners we had, and we just brought in the next. I don't mind that because there's a reality that swing tackle is a need. Like if we saw what our offense is without Lane, we didn't get an opportunity to see what our cornerbacks look like without Bradbury and Slay. But
the hell we did. But before Slay showed up, that's what it looks like.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, just thinking about just like if is it Zek World, Zek Island? He felt a certain way about what I have to do to get on the field, play better.
Yeah,
that's how you get on the field. If they saw something, they wouldn't be bringing back one of these, one of our star corners. But I'm happy with the way our corners are set up. But I do feel like it's time to develop a blue chip.
Yeah, and I get that he'll be sitting, and that's one thing. The other thing is this team is going to stay as healthy as they were last year. Unfortunately, you'd like them to, but it's another thing you have to look at, and that's why, at the end of the first round, I'd love to get an offensive lineman at some point because you need to build up that depth, depending on who's there. I do like DeJuan Jones from Ohio State, massive human being, right tackle there. He could slide in and play guard if you need to, but again, there's another player there. But I just feel like this draft, it's just there's so many unknowns. You don't know where teams are going to be going. I know there's a lot of chatter and everything. Like I said, who the hell knows what Houston's going to do at 2? Do they go edge rusher or do they go quarterback? Because what they do is going to basically make number 3's pick even more valuable for the Cardinals. And then, Indianapolis is right there. And then what happens with the quarterbacks? Who goes where? Is there a quarterback available when the Eagles are picking? Because if that's the case, the Eagles pick becomes so much more valuable. And you know how he likes to use that to his advantage.
Right.
Sure.
Yeah, Houston's definitely wild card with the 2 picks.
2 and 12.
See, I feel like the Titans could move up if a quarterback slips.
I could even see Houston taking defensive line with their first pick, taking like a guy like Jalen Carter, and then if there's another quarterback that falls to 10, they trade up with us from 12.
Imagine if Houston got, a blue chip talent like a Anderson or a Carter, and then they got
a
Richardson.
Yeah, that would be insane. That's the best draft in the first round right there. I actually put a bet in. Me and my buddies drove over state lines out of PA because it's illegal to bet on the draft in PA.
What is it really? I didn't even know that.
You can't bet on college athletes in PA. So, so you can bet on games, but you can't bet like anything with.
You want to share your bet?
Yeah, I was gonna say. So I put this. There was like a prop parlay where it was the Texans. They picked at 2nd and 12, and I bet this is a big stretch, but they traded Brandon Cooks, so I bet them to take Tyree Wilson 2nd and JSN 12. No quarterback. So with DeMeco Ryans, I'm going off my philosophy with the new coach. DeMeco Ryans comes in. He's got this kid that's been there for a few years. Build the team. Don't bring in a quarterback and start your timer. You know what I mean? Right when he picks a quarterback, his timer starts because he's going to be out if that quarterback bombs. So to build the team a little bit more, let Davis Mills start another year, maybe pick a quarterback later in the 2nd round or the 3rd or whatever. Who knows?
You know what school he went to, right?
Who, Davis Mills or DeMeco Ryans?
DeMeco. Bama. He's a Bama guy.
Bama guy. Okay, there you go. Will Anderson could be the
Hello, Mr. Anderson.
Yeah. With that, Tyree Wilson actually is the odds-on favorite to be picked by the Texans 2nd overall. So that's why I was like, oh man, someone has some insider info. But I don't know. I could go anyway. I would guess Will Anderson 2nd overall. Honestly, but I think to the general point of it is, like Evan said, Jalen Carter said, Will Anderson. We say Tyree Wilson. I think 2nd overall to the Texans is going to be a defensive player. Like it'd be one of those defensive linemen. Build the foundation of that defense, and then because you could still, like you said, like you can get a quarterback with that 12th asset. You can move up.
Yep.
You can make different things happen. You could see if someone drops. And it's going to all come down to that. So unless my theory from before where Seattle or Detroit considers taking a quarterback to develop behind their veterans actually happens, Texans are going to have their pick of the litter because the next couple teams don't really need quarterbacks. So, potentially the Raiders. I mean, there's a lot of teams that could do it, but the Texans are probably better off rolling the dice and taking one of those elite defensive linemen and then waiting on it and seeing what happens. So I'm all behind that for sure.
Now, question for you guys, Johnny, go with you first. What are your draft plans for tonight? You guys going to the link party? Watching it from home?
I'm watching from home since 2020. Me and probably about like 4 or 5 buddies. We do like a Zoom call like this. A bunch of we're all over the place. A bunch of different fans of different teams. So it's a fun little get together and stuff like that. So that's what we've been doing since 2020. So we just keep doing that. We do it Thursday and Friday night. It's just little fun conversations with guys I don't really get to see much because they're not as local as they once were. So some fun stuff there.
Okay.
Private or you're gonna be streaming it?
Private.
Gotcha.
I like to enjoy myself during the draft.
I don't blame you.
Yeah, it's tough because like usually I miss the draft every year because we're doing a live stream. So we're actually going to the link tonight,
Nice.
which is kind of it'll be nice to be with the people and actually watch the draft. My nerves are shot, bro.
Yeah.
This is like 5 months of studying and driving to the Senior Bowl. Like this is like the best day ever for me, but it's also like it's months and months of like draft study, and it's all unfolding in front of your eyes.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just like now it's gonna be like
it's like final presentation day in college. Like you worked for months on this final project, and now today's the day to present it. It's either gonna go well or it's gonna go poorly.
Now Phil has a question here. He says, "Is Anderson the Reddick clone?" That would be, I think, Nolan Smith.
Yeah, Nolan Smith's more like reminds me more of Reddick. But Will Anderson's like I watched his highlights and he's just like way more athletic than everybody. He either pushes you back or he runs around you. Like I didn't see many moves. I just saw him chasing guys down, running around guys, bull rushing guys. Like he just might be that freak that if he does start to develop more of a bag, that's going to be a scary, scary prospect. And he's been a top prospect for like 2 years now. So
are you guys working today, or you guys got the day off?
I am working, but I work remote. So and I just got a new position at my job, so I'm like kind of in the training mode. So I'm not really that busy.
This guy's talking drafts. He's working remote. We see you.
I'm just staying home tonight. By the way, I'm not going to the link. That's a cool little draft party. I've been there before for sure, and it's cool. I think I'm supposed to hop on my live stream too and do the first 10 picks on live. So we'll see if I end up.
I always love the reactions. Reactions are always good.
Yeah, I want my reaction on camera, so I kind of want to do that and be a couple times deep, maybe a couple cran bacas, and see what happens.
Nice.
We got important questions from Wealthy Mind out here for Evan.
Where the hell's that? I got a pussy in the other room. I just got a cat last weekend.
Shout out to Lana in the building.
Lana, big chillin'. She's officially moved out of my bathroom last night. That was big.
So here's a good question for you guys. It's a little non-draft related though. Who do you? Because I know we all are going to be there. I don't know about you, Johnny, but hopefully, who do you want to see at the home opener? Who's your pick for the home opener opponent? And we're all going to be at the tailgate, obviously. So I want the Giants. Honestly, I want the Giants right out of the gate. I want a classic 1 p.m. Eagles Giants home opener.
I'd love it, but we never get the Giants like always last game of the season.
It used to always be that though. We used to always get like the Giants or Washington week 1 and at home, and I really want that. I want to bring that back. I want us to play the Giants and Washington to play Dallas. And
I'm gonna stick with your same sort of mentality, but I'm gonna lean Dallas. I want to play Dallas just for the fact that last year the way it played out is that we didn't end up having our starting quarterbacks going up against each other, and that one was injured one time, the other was the other time. I want the Jalen Hurts versus Dak Prescott matchup, and then that can set the tone for the year.
Right.
For me, I'm thinking about it. I like those matchups. I want to go different. I want to see Jonathan Gannon back. I want to crush the Cardinals home opener, get an easy home opening win against the Cardinals and Gannon and put up 40 on them. I think that'd be fun.
I realistically think that the Cardinals could have the number 1 draft pick next year. Like I think they will be the worst team in the league.
Yeah, depending on if Kyler comes back.
I say give me the Chiefs. Opening game.
Oh yeah, that's opening game though. We play them on the road. I'm talking about at home at the link.
Oh, at home. I go. Cowboys would be nice.
I'm surprised no one said 49ers.
Yeah, the 49ers is who I was thinking. The 49ers.
Yeah, Michael Lovechild.
Oh, you want to see my reaction when we drafted N'Kobe Dean?
Yeah.
I was a little excited. I got back into the stream. I was like, "Is this true?"
When we picked N'Kobe Dean,
I forgot that's the origin of that.
I don't know. I'm trying
I've
to
used
take
that
it
meme
off.
so many times, just randomly.
when we were up to pick in the third round, and I saw him on the board, I was like cursing. I was like, man, we picked guys like Davion Taylor in the third round, and we're not going to take this guy. And I was like, I'm cool. I'm happy. Like, if we could take Davion Taylor, I'm like, why wouldn't we pick this guy? So I was so happy when we picked him.
And you know, Ev, when we were at the Eagles Autism Challenge last year, Evan walks up to N'Kobe Dean, right? Starts talking about medicals. It's like asking about body parts and like making it real awkward. And N'Kobe's looking at him like, dude. Ev, you want to break it down?
Bro, I was like, okay, so obviously the reason that N'Kobe Dean had fallen in the draft is because of that, surprise. I think it was shoulder came out during the draft last year, and so I went up to him. And I was just like, "Yo, how's it feeling?" I was trying to gauge whether or not how he's gonna be, if he's gonna be, ready to go for the year. And then he looked at me as he should have, like I was crazy. He's like, "Dude, I feel fine, feel great. I don't know what you mean. I don't even know what you're talking about." I'm like, "Yeah, I'm an idiot. That's fine. That's why you get paid the big bucks, and I'm just, some dummy walking next to you."
Come out. He was mad that info leaked. There was definitely an injury or something, but he didn't. He was upset about that. That was like that hurt him, like to hear that and him dropping like that. So I feel like you weren't off base. Like he wouldn't have acted like that if you were off base. Like there would have been nothing to say. But there was definitely something. There was definitely.
No, but you know what? It was a learning experience for everybody. Evan's not going to go to the Eagles Autism Challenge with the same questions this year.
He spoke about how it was a lie. He was on a podcast with a bunch of Georgia boys, and he was just saying how he's like, "Yo, it was all lies."
Yeah.
And then Evan bought into it.
Yeah. I mean, I hope. It's over now, but yeah. I mean, I felt like the only reason he would, feel so like he was definitely personally. I mean, maybe it was, maybe that's why, but there was definitely not something to ask him because he definitely had feelings.
Yeah, that was definitely a sore spot
for sure. Yeah, and it wasn't just the shoulder that was sore.
Yeah, that was sore. Yeah.
Yeah, but no, that's funny. That's funny. Are you guys doing that this year again?
Yeah,
the Eagles Autism Challenge. Yeah.
But do they do like a bike ride or a run or something like that?
They do a bike ride and a run. Yeah. Are you trying to join?
I mean, I would love to, bro. I would love to. Yeah.
If you want to join it, we got a team that we're putting together. We have like 6 people already walking.
Something like that.
Should be a good time.
Awesome. Yeah, man. Absolutely. Send me the details on Twitter and the DM. I would absolutely love to do that. I remember seeing pictures of you guys doing that last year, and super cool. And not just because it's the Eagles, but great cause. So I'm all for it, man. Just send me the info. I'm down as long as I'm free, which I should be. It's like a Saturday, isn't it?
Yeah. I know. The draft's coming up. Do you guys want to close out with a mock draft?
As is tradition.
Well, why do you think I came back? Like, you thought I came back just to look at your face?
How's my nephew?
He cooling, man. You missed him. He was on here earlier, man. That's right now.
Yes, I mean, Mal, you got your PFF premium account.
Oh yeah, hold on. Hola.
So how are we gonna do it? Like everyone just gets a pick and we just rotate pretty much?
No, we just talk them over.
It turns into a war. It turns into an actual fucking war room.
Pretty much. I just yell at Evan until he just berate him into my picks, and then we move on.
I push for Tanner McKee. Nobody bites.
The sad part is that this is over, man. We've been at this for like damn near half the year, I feel like.
I tell you what, man, I'm actually going to be looking forward to seeing where Tanner McKee ends up after seeing his name at the top of PFF's draft simulator.
Like months, yo.
That's funny because he did test high on that QB test recently.
What, like the Wonderlic?
Nah, the new one.
That they're now like saying the results are wrong. Like, can we just stop?
What's it, S2?
Yeah,
something like that?
Yeah, and it's like, can we just slow down sometimes, yo? All right.
Bryce Young scored high on it, and then CJ Stroud, I guess, scored low on it.
But the dude that owns it or created it said that Bryce Young has been studying for it since he was a senior in high school. So
because Bryce Young's built like that.
I guess
that's why I think. Bryce
Coming from a guy who scored low on my SATs, I get. Yeah, I'm not gonna let it judge me. I've done well.
Section, bro.
I'm not gonna tell you what I scored, but it was not well.
I was never good at that. My high school GPA was horrible, and I turned out just fine. So
yeah.
Right. So Bryce Young goes number 1 to
sharing your screen. Hold on a second. One second.
I got it.
Bro, what are they doing? Look, communication things.
Did that work yet?
Yeah, you do now. Bryce Young number 1. Oh my God. You can't click it twice. It's gonna go away again.
I'm hands off, Gail. Put it up.
Isn't it up? Oh,
No.
what's up?
Y'all double clicking it. There it is. All right. CJ Stroud, number 2 to the Texans. Bill Anderson, 3rd to Arizona. Oh, baby. Spoon went number 4 to Indianapolis. That's wild.
Look at this. Look.
5 to Seattle. Jalen Carter, 6 to the Lions. Skoransky, 7 to the Raiders. 8 is Will Levis. 9 is Christian Gonzalez.
Wow, they moved Bijan the hell up, didn't they?
Let's just take Anthony Richardson and just blow it all up, yo.
Did Jalen Carter get picked?
Yeah, he went to the Lions at 6.
Then you know my pick, man. He's right there at the top.
You know, we did tiers last night.
All right, what was the tier? Bijan was tier 1, right?
Bijan was tier 1.
You also got an opportunity to trade back there.
To what, 13?
You got 13.
Who's sitting there right now?
16, 19, 20. A bunch of them.
I mean,
do you want to risk that?
Let me see who's sitting there again. Is there
Nolan's
players worth?
Nolan's there. Nolan's there.
Bijan,
JSN,
Nolan Smith.
Nolan.
Helena says trade down.
risky.
Richardson's still there.
So as long as Bijan, JSN, or Nolan are there at 13, I'm happy with it. If all 3 of those guys go, then this trade is a disaster, in my opinion.
Because in so many mocks, I've always traded down, and Green Bay always takes Bijan when they have Aaron Jones and
I've definitely seen that.
So you can risk it if you want.
Risk it for the best.
13. We got 13. So we're doing Bijan or we trading? The trade is ready.
Tom's sweating right now. Tom is sweating.
We're getting a lot.
I'm sweating because realistically, if Bijan's sitting there in this scenario,
back, yo,
I'm sticking with it.
That is but that is a haul that we're getting back. Look at that.
Yeah,
we're getting 5 draft picks in exchange for 1.
Yeah, I think you have to do that. No,
I think so.
I would trade back.
Could we potentially get another?
Can we get the 45 in there?
I was gonna say.
Nah, these 2 they were out on 45 and 42.
Okay,
I would make that trade right there.
Ooh, it's kind of. I would have wished.
All right,
Bijan gone. Okay. Okay.
Green Bay moved up Anthony Richardson, bro. Wow. That's the reason.
Helena called that one. She was like, trade down. Richardson still.
That's why you 100%. As soon as I saw AR sitting there, I knew he was going to hit a home run, baby. This was going to happen on draft day. Watch today.
Paris Johnson Jr. is off the board.
Like you predicted, Mal, to Houston. Who did they take at 2?
They took CJ Stroud.
That was my parlay.
CJ Stroud and JSN, bro. Match made.
That Ohio State connection.
Yeah.
So Bijan.
Why do we feel like we won something?
Yo, because we did.
Because we did. We just won the Bijan sweepstakes.
Everyone's
in virtual world.
People in the chat are excited. Everyone's all like,
and then so here, Osiris, Felix.
Osiris, that Dewan.
Where did Brian Branch fall? Is he
He went 19.
19? If that was if he found a way to fall to 30, man, I'm seriously considering.
You run for that one, bro. Yeah. I'm all for that 30. It was just 10 was a sucker.
Yeah, no, 10. Absolutely not.
Buda Baker.
That would be beautiful.
Yeah.
Buda would be nice too.
Yeah.
He just gonna want 20 a year, yo, and that's so much paper.
Yeah.
So are we hyped for
Osiris?
I'm gonna bring.
What about D tackle though? What about D line?
Mozzie.
I mean, I'll be okay with Mozzie.
Any edge guys?
You got
probably Tooley coming up.
I have our tiers from the other night. Our tier one, we had Darnell Wright, Kalijah Cansey, Brian Branch, Jahmyr Gibbs, Osiris Torrance, Deontay Banks.
Where did Cansey end up going?
Cansey went 25th to the Giants.
Dude,
McDonald went the pick right before to the Saints.
Our tier 2 was Will McDonald, Adetomiwa Adebayo, Julius Brents, BJ Ojulari.
Felix.
You got Felix here and Osiris.
I'd go with Osiris.
I lean Osiris as well. We just made that line that much stronger for Bijan, bro.
But the edge would have been nice.
Watch you about to hit a home run on edge right here.
We have picks now. Okay. We got picks coming up.
It's gonna be somebody. Oh,
so Antonio Johnson is tempting right here.
I mean, you got
Herbig.
Herbig. I'll be cool with Nick Herbig.
Can we trade back again and get Herbig?
Sidney Brown.
60 at 63. Try that.
Yep, that's beautiful. I would take 139.
Nice.
Oh, did they take it?
Nice.
Yo, Gail showed me that because I used to never like press the send, but sometimes they take it. I'm all in on Herbig right here.
Herbig.
All right. Yeah. Is that Nate Herbig's brother?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. He knows all about the Bro Barn.
Let's go.
Yeah, he's a
Jonathan Mingo went 67, huh?
Antonio Johnson's also a safety that I'd look at. I think
Tony, we are not live streaming tonight. We're live streaming right now.
Is Marvin Mims related to Denzel Mims?
I don't think so.
He is not.
Sidney Brown's been a safety I've seen at the top as well.
I love Sidney Brown. I love Corey Trice right here.
I say that's a tough one because we don't.
Tanner.
Tyler Scott's a good one. A bunch of folks.
I'll leave the rest of this up to you guys because I don't know many players.
Yo, and I've been seeing a lot of buzz around Nick, yo. Saldivieri from Old Dominion. I know I just spilled his name, but he's been jumping up recently.
I mean, we don't have.
Nathaniel Dell is supposed to be a dynamic returner. I keep seeing clips in Nathaniel Dell.
He was on routes too. Like, thank you. Yeah.
I think he'll still be there at 94, personally.
Yeah, he will be. I mean, at this point, it's one of these three for me: Mims, Brown, or Corey Trice.
I'm leaning Sidney Brown.
Yeah, I need a safety.
Just filling more holes.
Damn, Jartavius went right after him. That's wild. Oh,
There's Marvin Mims right there. Bam.
Sorry, guys. It gotta happen. If we ended up with this drive, yo, son,
I'd go nuts.
There's Corey.
Corey Trice, Obi Trice's little brother.
Yeah.
Son, we hitting home runs.
There's Kobe.
Hey, Schoonamaker.
Yeah. ODU tackle.
Who's
tackle?
Roshan.
Compare
Roshan
and Old Dominion tackle.
Oh yeah, Nick. Yeah, that's what I was saying. He's somebody that folks have been.
We did take Osiris though.
Yeah, but Osiris was listed at guard.
Oh, true.
Yeah, I think he was like a developmental tackle. I feel like
which is exactly
how big. What kind of size are you working with?
6'3".
Holy guacamole!
Give that guy a Scotland.
Hey, I just wanted to give you a fact check here. Denzel Mims is the brother of Marvin Mims.
Oh,
I don't believe you.
well, do you guys remember what Denzel Mims famously said about Philadelphia?
Yes.
I mean, Marvin Mims also seems to be a much tougher dude from a mentality standpoint.
What's up, Jason?
Not afraid of a little litter.
Byron Young. I mean, it's shooters in Philly, bro, so I can't necessarily blame it.
Yeah, I know. Denzel Mims said something about Philly being like filthy and all this stuff. And I, as a guy that lives in Philadelphia, I was like, "There's a lot of trash around." I'm not.
What about a tight end? Tight end too.
Yeah. So Shoemaker sounded very
Alderweireld and Shoemaker.
at the top.
I'm gonna leave it up to you guys, honestly.
I like this.
I go Schoonamaker or what's it called the D tackle
Moro
out of Wake Forest.
Kobe.
Yeah.
Tell me about Kobe. I haven't watched Kobe.
He's good.
Another big body.
6'3", 290. See the grades. He can move. Probably more so a 3 technique.
Depth on the D line. I loved the rotation that we had last year. And
we got a guest on the podcast. We're gonna give Thomas guy.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Schoonamaker would have been nice.
Yeah, you'll be all right. You'll be all right. I mean, I think he's
Ivan Pace.
Yo, Taylor, baby.
Ivan Pace would be nice. Ivan, crazy.
There you go, Jason.
Jason, we got you all the way from Iowa, baby. We got you.
Shout out to AJ in the chat.
Yo, AJ.
Hey. Happy draft.
Link, AJ.
We ended up getting Bijan, and all of a sudden we have 1 billion draft picks too. This would be amazing.
You know, this is a dude. Yeah, I don't know if you got into Quindell. I like him as like a guy prospect.
We're in the 6th round.
Yeah. It ain't a bunch. O'Shawn Mathis is okay too.
Is DTR still around?
He's gone. He started going in the 5th round weeks ago.
Yeah, they talking him up now, man.
Yo, cause I can see that at least as a high level backup. I mean,
shout out to Jason working and watching as we go along. Hey man, we took the day off today.
I'm working, bro. I'm on lunch break right now. All right, so where we at? We at the end of it.
What about Gerard? Do you like Gerard Clark?
I was gonna say we didn't go D tackle yet.
I like Coastal Carolina as a school. So
yeah,
that's a horse right
there.
He
was down at the Senior Bowl.
Yeah, we going big man.
What were your thoughts?
No, Gail liked the.
Yeah,
I mean, he was all right. You know, I mean, late. We're in the 6th round, I think. You know,
where did Kuntz go? Does he move his way up the draft board?
AJ is also on lunch break. Out here watching mocks on your lunch. Real one alert.
Draft day, man. Like this is crazy.
I don't see it.
Let's see what happens.
Yo, give me some Puka canoe. Puka.
Nuwaka.
At least say the name.
Puka Kanua.
There he is.
We've been talking a lot about
Puka Nakua. Puka Nakua.
That's fun to say.
That's Puka's older brother. Puka.
Hey, Jay quit off the board.
It's really not that bad of a draft. I could have went a little edge early, but the her big made me feel a little bit better.
Yeah, over Mo.
Travis died, bro. If his knee is okay, he's a horse too.
Dog, you were talking up Mo for.
Mo's my guy too, but like, Dye also has a little bit more explosiveness than Ibrahim does. There really isn't much else in here.
Is the UCLA wide receiver still there?
Jake Bobo.
Like that's our 6th round pick. His last name's Bobo.
I love how there's a guy named Jadakiss Bonds. That's
awesome,
the best
man.
name in the draft.
Jadakiss Bonds.
When's the coldest Crawford coming out? Is that next year?
What about what was the LaMichael Jordan?
LaMichael Jordan, yeah.
Jordan.
Still, anybody named Raekwon is my favorite human, bro.
Let's see. So the Eagles.
They finally like the Bijan pick.
We traded back with Green Bay. We landed Bijan Robinson. Bijan Robinson stands rejoice all across Philadelphia. Tom is crying tears of joy.
And we got him a guard.
And we got him
a
a
guard.
beefy guard from Florida, alma mater of Howie's, the Gators. Knew a lot about him coming in. Then we went with there's a lot of 6 degrees of separation here. We got Herbig, Nate Herbig's younger brother, Nick Herbig from Wisconsin. Then we got Spicy, got another trade with the Broncos and got the 68th pick and the 108. We gave them the 62nd pick and picked up Sidney Brown, a guy that we've been mocking for months now. And then we said, you know what, Denzel, screw you, but we're going to draft the real Mims, Marvin Mims, the crafty wide receiver out of Oklahoma. And then we said developmental corner with size. We know you got some injuries. Corey Trice from Purdue. And then Mal went with the tackle from Old Dominion, Nick Saldiveri. Don't know. You're going to have to school me on him. And then in the 5th round, we went with Ivan Pace Jr. We love his crazy attitude. He's a game breaker for Cincinnati. Could not be blocked at the Senior Bowl. Then went with the interior, Gerard Clark from Coastal Carolina. Got an A+ from PFF for that one.
I like that one.
And then we went back to wide receiver, Puka Nacua from BYU. Also had a good day at the Senior Bowl until he got a concussion, injury prone. But hey, we're in round 7, and we closed it up with cornerback Christian Braswell from Rutgers.
I got to be honest, this is one of my favorite mocks that we did. It's the last one that we did.
The fact that we all literally celebrated like we was in the war room, traded back. Oh, yo!
And that must be what the Vikings felt like when we took Rager, man. That must really be what it felt like in that world.
People are watching this as fucking draft dorks.
I've been a draft dork for so long.
I love this shit, man. I love this shit.
That you call me that?
I love this shit, bro. I've been hanging out in hotels, running after prospects since I was 18, man.
That's crazy.
That started off
trying to sneak in draft rooms. I love this shit, bro.
Hotels,
I love this shit.
My whole life.
Trying to get autographs. I was sitting there with Marshall Falk. I'm like, bruh, I got to get a photo.
You're like the old Bijan Robinson.
This is pre-cell phone. You know how hard it was to get a photo? You're like rolling this shit back like, almost like real shit, bruh. Real shit.
Oh, man. Yeah, no, that's crazy. It's going to be a fun day. And not only today, but I get so hyped up once the first round ends. I'm like, man, who's on the board for the second round? And can't wait to watch the second and third. And then even though the Eagles aren't really loaded on day 3, I mean, they might be after tonight, who knows? But just, watching on Saturday, having it running on my TV while I'm chilling, hopefully it's a nice day out. I haven't checked the weather yet, but yeah, just hanging out watching the draft for 3 straight days is definitely the best time. So I'm pretty hyped.
You also are a Miami Heat fan, correct?
Yeah.
I got to give props to Jimmy Butler, bro.
Yeah, that guy's a baller.
Dude, the past 2 games has been just...
Yeah,
what did he drop, 98 points?
That 56 was unreal. I was just...
Last night was unreal.
Yeah. I'm not going to lie. I was I got work tomorrow. So I was and then they were down 15 freaking...
Oh, you're gonna go to sleep on double overtime?
I was laying in my bed, and I saw the score. I was watching Golden State too, so I was seeing the score. I was like, how are they doing this? What is going on? I'm like, geez. And then that game tying shot that he hit was the stupidest inbounds play I've ever seen.
They practiced that play.
That was insane, and he got away with a foul for sure. But
the push off, yeah,
whatever. Giannis shot so poorly from the line that they didn't really deserve to win that game.
Dude, I just love Jimmy's mentality, man. I'm not sure if you saw that with him with the reporter after.
Yeah, when he was like, Joel's the MVP to be brutal.
No. I'm talking about that. They said to him, there was a reporter, and they were asking him how does it feel? You came into MSG, and you're going to be playing, on Saturday in the second round of the playoffs. And he goes, "Don't we play on Sunday?" They're like, oh yeah, Sonny's like, yeah, do your job. It's like that's fucking amazing.
Oh yeah. He called him out. I was like, damn, it's spicy, bro. You just had the
love it,
best playoff game of your life, and you're like, your job,
bro. Hold the media accountable, because these media dudes be trying to roast these players with every opportunity they get. They digging up bullshit dirt on them. They making up stories. Hold that line, bro. Do your job, right? Do your job.
Dude, he just did his job. All you got to know is when they play next. In the one question you're asking, when you got it wrong.
Whole buckets. You just had to look at the calendar, bro, and figure out. Right, come on now.
Joey asked, might have been asked already. Are y'all going live during the draft? We might go live via
tomorrow
the phone, like during the draft, but nothing. What's that?
Hollywood, you pulling up?
I'm going to be at the link tonight. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
We are doing a live show on Friday. If anyone wants to come back, Tom, you're welcome to come back. Friday, we're going to be live during the draft, getting it in.
Is my favorite day is the third day of the draft, because it get wonky. We get Owachita State in the building. Like, you know what I mean?
It's warming up in here.
Me and Evan had a conversation. Are we willing to do a day 3 live show with only 2 7th rounders? That's a long day, dude.
I think that it's kind of one of those we chill out, and if a trade happens, we go live and ride it out from there type of thing.
You can see trades today, though. You can see trades today and tomorrow.
If we make a trade like we just made in that mock draft, I mean that's going to be an all day event on Saturday.
Yeah, we'll know the vibes. So Owachita State, baby, you know, we got the boys in the building.
Yeah, you had to be there for that one. You had to be there for that one. But yeah, man. Yeah, it's almost draft day. No, it is draft day. It's almost draft time. We'll go around the room. Last words before we get out of here. Let's start with Tom, man. Last word before we get out of here. Anything you want to get off your chest? Let them know.
You know me. I'm Bijan. I'm been pushing it. I don't know if I should wait for this.
No, you're good.
So yeah, I mean, I'm a Bijan guy. You know, I always want to selfishly be irresponsible. You know, I'm the type of guy that's not going on Amazon to get glasses. I'm getting the Gucci glasses from the mall.
Oh, look, this guy, swagalicious.
So I want the style points. I want a guy that's going to make us instantly, visibly better from day one. So that's me.
I do think it's a sticking point for you and Cowboy fans a little bit. You want because there's a lot of Texas Cowboy fans.
I want to see them try to convince themselves that it doesn't matter somehow, because that dude's going to come in week 1 and bust somebody's ass for 150 and 3 touchdowns, and we're going to see how much it really actually matters and how dominant and unstoppable we are. It's going to be funny. Not only Cowboys fans, but every rival fan. Oh, they're too stacked. It's not fair. Oh, we saw it last year. So I want to just see a pick that's going to make this offense explode, really maximize it. So that's my pick. But you can follow me on Twitter. You see my handle at Tom Stakes. I'll be around, so you already know that. Appreciate you guys for having me on.
Yeah, man.
But you know, I'm spewing a lot of nonsense on Twitter, so follow me there. And you know, I mean, I didn't know if that last word was a plug opportunity, but I just plugged it. And
plug it. No, for anything you gotta say.
I appreciate you doing the Lord's work and putting all the Cowboys fans and Twitter in their place, man.
Yeah, hell yeah, man. Thank you. Appreciate that. But yeah, I'm just looking. Hey, look, Howie Roseman's not going to let us down. He's not going to steer us wrong. So whether he picks the guy I want or not, I'm behind it. You know what I mean? So it is what it is. So appreciate you guys for having this, and have fun at the draft party, man. Show out and get loud for whatever capacity we can get loud in there, and let's go. I'm ready.
Yes, sir.
Mal.
Yeah, man. Yo, Tom, good seeing you, my boy. Thank you for joining us. And like Gail said, we be around for the weekend. So if you're coming back, folks, watch and listen and tap in. We'll be around. Y'all know how we do for the draft. We invite people in to talk football and just get geeked up with us. This our time, man. We grinded the whole off season, right? We grinded the whole draft season. We did mock drafts. We did 1,000 mock drafts. We've watched hundreds of prospects. We got Hollywood and Prime deep in the they got deep in the vault, right? This was such a dope year. Off the piggyback of the Super Bowl disappointment. I love how the fan base picked ourselves up and rallied, man, right, and like are super excited about what's coming up today and over the next couple of days. It's a beautiful thing. So it's always fly, Eagles fly. I love y'all boys, and yeah, I can't wait to turn up tonight, man. We about to get right.
So I'm gonna say it. This might be a little controversial, but I'm retire 5 because Bijan's coming in. No, in all seriousness though, that's my home run tonight. If we're able to land Bijan Robinson, I'm over the moon. Obviously it's in Howie we trust. We've given him a lot of shit over the years for his ability to draft, but he's honestly he's been strong in years past, and he's proven to be a guy that we can trust in this sort of scenario, and he has the assets to make this team that much better. So let's go Birds. I look forward to seeing you guys all weekend long, and I'll see you tonight.
Just want to add this point. Bijan said that he'll take whatever number the Eagles give him. It doesn't matter to him. Always thinking, always aware. But again, we're very aware that it's draft night, it's draft season. It is Howie's time to shine. I think for all the mistakes, he's learned from a lot of these mistakes, which I'm proud of him. For every bad pick, you get a moment where you get AJ Brown and a Jordan Davis. You get a Devontae Smith. You get a Jalen Hurts in here, foreseeing the future. And again, you have to believe that he's always working. He's always cooking. He's always keeping it spicy. So Eagle fans, get ready. It's going to be an exciting night. We got 2 first-round picks. We're not peasants like y'all. The Eagles got 2 first-round picks. So get ready for the excitement. We'll see you guys soon. As always, fly, Eagles, fly.